Hey, this is Bruce Boudreau, and you're listening to Empty Betters with Nick, Mack, and Harrison.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to episode 142 of Empty Betters. I'm your host, Harrison Scholes. I'm going to toss it across the screen to my co-host, Nick Manella. What's going on?
What's going on, dude? I love how I'm the only one still in costume. No, I haven't had this on since Saturday, but you know what? It's Halloween. Might as well have some fun with it, boys.
I respect it. And why don't you describe to the listeners who aren't on YouTube who you are?
Oh, the front man for one of the greatest rock and roll bands of all time, Mr. Joey Ramone, rest in peace. One of my absolute heroes and just one of the most talented frontmen of all time, I would have to say. And I think Mac would back me up on that.
Given Mac nodding his head, I'm going to toss it across the screen to him up in Wisconsin. Mac, do you agree with Nick?
I do. I love the Ramones. They were definitely one of the bands I kind of that allowed me to fall in love with rock and roll at a young age. My dad definitely got me hip on them when I was young. And I remember taking a trip to Cleveland to see the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and seeing a lot of cool stuff about them while I was there. I actually had one of those like Hot Topic rubber bracelets that said Ramones growing up. I used to wear that all the time. But yeah, all else is good here. This is my last week of freedom before I start a real world big boy office job. Gonna become a 9 to 5. Never thought I'd say that, but
welcome to the Black Parade, my friend.
Yeah, we'll see. But as for my attire today, this might surprise you, might piss some of you off, but
Springfield Isotopes,
baby. Yes, exactly. No, I actually, the only reason I have this Astros shirt is because I guess I still do like to collect a lot of like old school hockey and baseball merch, and this is from when they had the Astro Dome. So
back when they were cool.
Yeah, before all the cheating nonsense. However, as much as I don't really give a shit about the Astros or the Phillies, I will never root for a Philadelphia sports franchise. So it's all Astros. I gotta root for Trey Mancini, gotta root for Dusty Baker to get a World Series ring finally. So I guess go Stros.
I think that's just like a collective on this podcast. I would say in no way, shape, or form has any of us ever pulled for a Philly sports team. Like even that Super Bowl with the Eagles against the Pats, I was kind of like, this is just not fun to watch.
Just where you close your eyes.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's
where you bet the under.
Old,
yeah, seriously.
It's the old meteor championship where you just hope a meteor hits and no one wins, but
yeah, no, I don't think I could ever root for a Philadelphia sports team. They got to be at the bottom. New York, Boston, I'd rather root for them over Philly any day of the week.
I will say, as much as I love Dusty Baker, it absolutely broke my heart the other night when he pinch hit fucking Ledmus Diaz instead of having Trey Mancini bat in like the most important moment of the game, which I get it. Trey Mancini does not have a hit yet in the postseason.
He sucks right now,
I would still take him batting in that clutch situation any day over freaking Diaz, but I rest my case.
So game 3 got rained out last night. So game 3's tonight?
Correct. Yep.
Yes.
Okay. I'll be having that on. So much sports going on. We were supposed to have an equinox last night and Mother Nature said no. So we will move on to tonight with a bunch of NHL action. We've got our picks up on the Overtime Report on YouTube. That just went up. We've also written a couple blogs, posting all the picks. So keep your eyes out on our Twitter account for that. I do want to mention, because I failed to do so last episode, our interview guest today was Frank the Tank from Barstool. Now, I want to preface this by saying, one, I wasn't on the interview. I had scheduling conflicts. Mac and Nick, the internet circumstances that we were dealing with there were far less than ideal. So it's very short because there was only so little of it that could be used. I think the very first thing that Frank said was, I work at a company who runs the internet and they don't have internet. And I thought it was the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah. I mean, shout out to him. He powered through just some connectivity issues. And I think it's one of those things though that everyone's still going to enjoy. It might be around 15 minutes long, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun to listen to for you guys, no doubt. And hopefully we'll be able to get him back on for a longer less technically difficult interview in the not so distant future.
Hopefully with that same energy though. That was absolutely electric.
Yeah, if you're a fan of North Penn Station, I think that your ears deserve a listen to this interview. But yeah, definitely dealt with some internet problems. We apologize, out of our control if you hear any, static or whatever. We did the best we could.
We're
All right.
not rocket scientists.
Amen. Let's get into the news. But before we do, we want to remind you guys that this episode is brought to you by Brackish Life. Let's take a minute to talk about Brackish Life. If you're like us and grew up on the water and outdoors, then Brackish Life is perfect for you. They have a wide selection of gear from UV shirts to hoodies and hats. It is Real Bay apparel made by Real Bay people. Head to www.brackish.life today to check them out. A little salty, a little fresh, Brackish Life. Mac, I think you have a question of the day before we get to the news.
I do have a quick one here for you boys, inspired by what I am sipping on right now. Curious if you boys have a favorite fall cocktail.
Ooh.
A fall cocktail.
Or just like maybe even like a specific beverage of your choice that feels more fall to you or that you like to drink more often in this harvest season.
Well, you guys know I've been sending you snaps over the last week or so that I've been hitting martini season pretty hard. That's usually like
I noticed that. Yeah,
that's like my winter thing though, so that's weird. But I feel like fall, I go more whiskey or heavier beer than I normally do any other time in the year.
Yeah. As far as beer goes, I love Pum Kings. I don't know if you guys have heard of those. It's a great brand. They're like 8%. Definitely had a few of those in the month of October. Went to dinner on Friday and had an old fashioned because it was like kind of cold. I feel like those kind of get me a little warmed up. So if I was going cocktail, probably old fashioned. Pum Kings are great though.
Old fashioned's a great fall cocktail. Mac, what was the Crosby and Beckett bar we went to?
Yeah, Boone and Crockett.
Yeah, that one.
No,
that's
some
the monster
best,
old fashions.
They did, and it's the best like cozy fall bar too, with all the like hunting taxidermy stuff on the wall. It just feels like you're in a little log cabin sipping a nice old fashioned. Also have a good gin bramble there if that's your thing. But
Nice.
My fall cocktail, I've been making these for the last like 2 or 3 years. I think I made it when I was living in LA. I was put in charge of cocktails for Thanksgiving because my sister and her friends all know I can't cook for shit. So they put me in charge of cocktails, and I did not disappoint. I concocted what I'm drinking right here, right now, which is a little bit of bourbon, about a shot and a half of bourbon. Then you're going to want to fill it up most of the way, the rest of the glass, with good apple cider, like as good as you can find. I got mine from like an actual apple orchard in Wisconsin. It's like homemade grandma's stuff, really good.
Like they actually go out and like milk the apple and turn
Oh
it
yeah,
into, yeah,
yep.
okay.
They milk
Yeah.
the apple
Yeah.
udders and everything. And then like literally just the top of the glass here, you're gonna want to finish off with either ginger beer or ginger ale, just to give it a little bit of like a fizzy, like kind of a little more of a like cut and a little sweet vibe. So
And what do you call that?
I don't know. I should come up with like an official name for it.
I got one.
Yeah.
Mac-o'-lantern.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And it kind of looks
God,
like an
that's
orangey, like, yeah, that's genius. Wow, you shot from the
Nick.
hip there. The
Holy hell.
only other asterisk I'll add here is don't be afraid to go with a cheaper bourbon for a cocktail like this. You're really not gonna taste like a really, you're not gonna taste the difference between like that and something up higher on the shelf for a cocktail like this. But what's really important is to find some good apple cider. Don't just get like whatever cheap shit's at like the grocery store.
Invest in your apple cider.
Yep, exactly.
And Nick, talk about shoot from the hip. You can no scope that thing. I love it.
You got it.
All righty, let's get into the league news. First and foremost, the Vancouver Canucks have finally won a game since our last episode. They finally picked up their first win of the season on October 27th against the Seattle Kraken. And then the very next night, they beat my very own Pittsburgh Penguins. So the Canucks are back in the win column.
That was they beat them.
Yeah, they beat them. We don't need to talk about that too much. Now, of course, it wouldn't be an EB episode without talking about the Leafs a little bit, would it? Mitch Marner was benched in the Leafs' overtime loss to the Ducks the other night, where they blew the lead. 4 of the Leafs' losses this season have come to teams who did not make the playoffs last year. The Leafs do not look good. I know we were watching that Ducks game because we had some money on some Zegras shot on goal props, but they blew it. And the Ducks are not a very good team this season. What are your guys' thoughts on Marner getting benched?
Didn't Sheldon Keefe say that the Leafs are lucky to have 10 points with the way that they've been playing this season? I think I read that.
And
Believe
did
you're
he
correct.
only benched him for a shift, right? Or
I
did he
think it
bench
was
him
a
for the whole?
couple.
Okay.
I think it was a couple. I can't. That was a late night game, so I can't exactly remember. But there's like posts all over the place, especially Puck Empire, where Keefe is saying that him and Marner are not on the same page.
I did
Um,
read that. Yeah.
it's not looking pretty in Toronto. What do you guys think they need to do?
I mean, I would love to stop hearing about it. But
Well, that's fair.
I think that like, and it's just not from like us, but from like all the Hardo Leafs fans that are like, what is going on with this team?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, maybe shake it up and trade someone.
It's a
Yeah.
head scratcher. I don't really see a super easy solution for them right now. It's almost like they should have not signed two really mediocre goalies in the offseason, and maybe that would have been a better solution, although I don't think it's totally their fault either. Yeah, I'll tell you what, with the way this season is going, I don't know that it's going to be the easiest sell to ask Austin Matthews to come back to Toronto next offseason or next season. That's
Yeah.
something I would be more concerned about than anything as a Leafs fan.
Plus, he can write his own check next time.
I read something today, I think from Puck Empire, that was saying like it's believed that Matthews will, like, at this point, that he'll still come back, but maybe not long term. Like maybe he'll just sign another year or two or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. Like if this team just tanks and like misses hard this year or something like that, I don't know. I
Blow
could
it
see
up.
him just not coming back at all.
I mean, what did we say earlier on? I think I said that this is either going to go really, really well or it's going to be over by December.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still early. I wouldn't hit panic just yet. Like it's not like they're dead last. But that being said, like, their best player so far statistically has been John Tavares, and that is not what any of us on this podcast or anybody in the hockey media would have thought coming into the year. It doesn't look like Matthews and Marner have been superhuman like they usually are. So we'll wait and see how it all plays out in TO. Brad Marchand came back early from his hip surgery, made his season debut for the Bruins last Thursday against the Red Wings. And of course, he scores 2 goals and has an assist, and they beat the wheels off of the Wings. And they are the best team in the NHL at the moment, and they only have 1 loss. And all of us said they were going to suck, and they're shoving it up our ass.
It's so annoying.
It's just like,
so annoying.
why are they like salary cap cycle proof? It's so dumb.
The cap is fake. It's not real.
And I kept saying, like, they're not going to be able to do shit with these two, like, rent the goalies and, like, ha ha ha, jokes on me.
Nick, what did you say on the OT report? Was it Swayman or
Allmark is 6-0-0.
Allmark hasn't lost a fucking game. It's insane. So
Wow.
yeah, the Bees are number 1 in the NHL right now in points.
We're still no McAvoy, right?
I don't know.
think so.
I don't think
he's played.
I've seen pictures of him practicing, but I haven't watched enough Bruins games, honestly, to tell you yet. I will be watching tonight as they take on my Penguins. That should be an interesting game. But the Bruins and Brad Marchand, like nothing ever happened. It's just the same old thing.
So fucking annoying.
They definitely are number 1 in the power rankings as of right now. Want to give a shout out to Tage Thompson. What a performance last night.
I'm glad you put this in here.
Yeah, on Halloween night, Tage Thompson scored 6 points against the Red Wings. He had 3 goals and 3 assists as Buffalo defeats the Red Wings 8-3 at home on Halloween night. He has 12 points in 9 games so far this season, and he has 9 points in his last 2 games. He is tied for 9th in the league in points right now. I mean, the last 2 games have made up over half of his season total. He's on fire. The Sabres look good. What do you guys think about all this?
I think he's the best player the Sabres have right now, bar none. I mean, he absolutely tore the Red Wings apart last night. And some of those goals, he kind of did it by himself, too. Yeah, he got a great setup pass, but the move to either open up the goalie or get around Nedeljkovic, I mean, at least on the third one, was incredible.
Yeah, I'm kicking myself for this one because you all know I'm the live bet hat trick king, and I saw he had 2. I even looked at the odds and went to put it in. It wasn't juicy enough for me. which is like ended up being me saying no to $25, which is stupid. But yeah, he looks good. He's a talented player. He's on your fantasy team, isn't he, Harry?
Yeah, he's a beast. He's been my best player so far, and Nick, I would agree with you. He's definitely the best player on the Sabres right now.
All right, I got a proposal for you. 1-for-1, Sam Reinhart for Tage Thompson.
Done. Sent. Consider it done.
I can beat that. Luke Kunin for Tage Thompson.
Done.
Spoiler alert, gonna talk about Sam Reinhart in the hot or not segment later.
Yeah, right. Right. But just wanted to give Tage some love there. Sabres looking good. It's always good to see. Nick, this next one, I know you were the guy who found this storyline, so I'll let you do this one.
Yeah, something's been circulating on Twitter for sure. I love my college hockey. Whenever there's college hockey on, I always try and watch it. I think it's it's interesting, it's fun, it's obviously different than the NHL, but we had a crazy post-game brawl between Alaska Fairbanks and Nebraska Omaha. So two pretty well-known college hockey programs. And if you're not familiar, college hockey, you usually play your opponent in a series, sort of like baseball, where you travel to their city for, a couple days. You probably play 2 to 3 games and then you move on. And just a little background here. The first game they played was a 3-2 overtime win that involved Alaska Fairbanks celebrating in front of the Omaha bench. The following game the next day was the exact opposite. It was an Omaha victory, or it was a Fairbanks victory celebrating in front of the Omaha bench. Then the referees decided to have a handshake line. And if you haven't seen the video, I encourage you to go find it on Twitter, because it is exactly what you imagine happening in the movie Slapshot, but in real life in a college hockey game. So this sparked a whole bunch of, discussions ranging from suspensions to, I know the guys over at Spit and Chicklets were talking about should fighting be allowed in college hockey. So do you guys think that's the case, or just keep the cages on and keep the boys as they are now?
I mean, I do think that the cages should stay on, which probably means there can't/shouldn't be fights, because you can't really fight with a cage on. Um, I mean, I get the argument for it, where it's like if you're going to allow it in the NHL, and if a lot of these players are considering going to the NHL, or hoping to go to the NHL, then like that could be another like scouting tactic almost. Like, can this guy fight? Or like, can he hold his own in a fight? That kind of thing. It probably shouldn't be allowed, because as I'm thinking about it, all I can think of is it like adding more headaches and like possibly lawsuits, or like, I just feel like it would get too messy at a college level when you've got some kids that are literally like 18 years old. And I mean, I think technically there could be like a 17-year-old playing college hockey, couldn't there be? Like,
Yeah,
and
if it's a
and
really late birthday, yeah.
yeah, and at that point, like you could definitely have some sort of like legal dispute. I could so see like some rich kid's parents being like, "Well, we're suing because he's
Right.
17 and like he got punched in the face and he never agreed to the fight." Like, I don't know.
There's
I
no
just
way the NCAA would ever allow it.
Well, that too. I just see there being way too many like hoops to jump through and headaches that are involved in that. Definitely an interesting topic of discussion though.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, would I like to see it? Yeah, it'd be kind of cool. I mean, you see, green versus blue, Michigan versus State going at it. I think everybody would love that. But I agree with Mac that I just don't really foresee the NCAA going for this, just for all the reasons described. So I doubt we'll ever see the day.
The big counter argument to that is obviously, like, you think about, the CHL, you think about juniors, like Connor Bedard was 16, and that's a league where you don't have to wear a cage. And those guys can, you can have a 16-year-old who's playing with 20-year-olds, and, those guys can fight.
You could also argue that maybe they can just take off the cages and not fight. I don't know. I get what you're saying. Canada's built different than us. It's definitely a little different, especially when you start talking about universities versus like privately owned minor league teams, like that kind of. I don't know. I do think they should be able to wear visors though if they want. Like, why not? Like, the next chapter of their life, if they go on, they're gonna wear visors. So who cares?
I'm wondering, is it a USA hockey policy?
Yep.
Yeah.
Has to be.
Yep. 100%. But yeah, it definitely drove some discussions online about college hockey, which is always a good thing, never a bad thing. Let's move on to some discussion points. I know we talked a little bit about Boston earlier, but we're going to talk about the two powerhouse teams right now, being the Vegas Golden Knights and the Boston Bruins, and then a sleeper team that we'll talk about after, Right now, let's talk about Vegas. So they're second in the NHL, right behind the Bruins. They are red hot. I think they've made Mac join the bandwagon. I could be wrong saying that. You
I
seem like
love this hockey team.
He's a VGK.
I literally love them, and I can't
He's a
believe I'm saying
VGK guy.
that.
Yeah, he's a
They're
VGK guy.
I know
knew it.
why you love them. It's because Logan Thompson is like one of the few good things going for your fantasy team right now. Because I know you and I are in the same boat. So
that is a huge part of it. I will not deny. However, I have also always been a Mark Stone guy, and like the more I see him like being the face of this franchise, like being the captain and like just doing cool shit for them, I'm kind of on board from that angle as well. Jack Eichel's cool. I obviously want to see him do well. I want to see him play in the playoffs. So I don't know. There's a few things that have kind of made me come around to them. However, they're playing the Caps tonight, and I can guarantee you I'm going to be texting you boys in a couple hours like, fuck this team, about like some dumb shit that they're going to do that's going to piss me off.
Dave
So,
Theodore's ugly.
Yeah,
like something
but
like that.
face
No,
off's
I-
delayed an hour and a half for another medieval times performance.
I mean, that don't get me wrong. There's still a ton of shit I could say about why they're dumb too, but I've definitely become a little less sour on them recently, and it is mostly because of Logan Thompson. That is definitely true.
Let's hit you with some stats. So Vegas is the best defensive team in the NHL right now by a mile. They have allowed only 17 goals so far this season, and they have played 10 games. For those who are mathematically challenged, that is 1.7 goals against average per game. Logan Thompson, Mac already talked about it. I would say he's the Cinderella
Close enough.
story. Yeah, he's the Cinderella story for
Ooh.
October. He's a Vezina front runner,
Let me see
and
if I can get
everybody wrote
odds.
off Vegas at the start of the year because Lehner got hurt, and here we are.
well, we don't know if he's actually hurt or not. The jury's still out on that one. So we'll get back to you when we have 4 different updates that conflict with each other.
Right.
I also think it's worth mentioning Jack Eichel. He's playing up to his potential right now. He's got 10 points in 10 games played, so a point per game player. That's exactly what they needed from him. They're a really good team, man. I mean, they play really good defense. Bruce Cassidy has lit a fire under their ass, and they look unstoppable at the moment. So we'll see what they do tonight against the Caps in D.C. Should be an interesting one. Caps coming off a back-to-back with their backup playing. They can pull out a W against Vegas and Logan Thompson. I don't know. Maybe the Caps are back on the map. We'll see.
I still hate Vegas, but like I will fully concede at this point that if this team keeps it up, we're talking about a legitimate, like, deep threat for sure.
Yeah. Yep. Defense wins championships, and that's what they're doing.
This may have changed because I can't find it on our book. No surprise there. But I
Shut up,
have
Corey.
online as of like 2 weeks ago that Logan Thompson to win the Vezina is plus 7,500. So if you have it on your book, I would definitely throw like 15, 20 bucks on that and see what happens.
Yeah, that could take you a long way. We'll move on to the Boston Bruins, the best team in the NHL right now. I know we talked about Marchand and his comeback a little bit earlier, but David Pastrnak deserves a ton of praise. He is on absolute fire so far this season. If you're part of the shots on goal army, he is money on almost every night. He's usually about over under 4.5 shots on goal, and he hits it almost every time. So I would definitely keep an eye out on that. He has 17 points through 9 games played so far this season. That puts him second in the NHL in scoring, only behind Connor McDavid himself. What have you guys thought about the Bees so far this season?
They're good. There's no denying it. It's frustrating because we were dead wrong about this one. And it doesn't seem like they're slowing down anytime soon. Pastrnak is another player that I feel like we sort of, or at least I sort of expected to maybe regress, if anything. And he's proven us dead wrong. So, say what you will about the Bruins. Definitely not my favorite team in the NHL, but they're hot right now.
No, it's like all of a sudden Krejci comes back into their locker room and they were like, remember how much they like playing together or something. It's just for whatever reason, whatever they're doing is working, and I don't like it one bit.
Remember how we literally were like, oh, they think bringing back this guy who's like washed up is going to change everything. And it did.
Well,
Damn it.
It's also really funny. This is a storyline that not a lot of people are talking about. So Turk came on our podcast at the start of the NHL season, and we talked about how the Bruins canned Cassidy and they didn't want to play with him. And he was like, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, Don Sweeney might be to blame. The Bruins canned Cassidy. They're the best team in the league. The Vegas Golden Knights pick up Cassidy, and they're the second best team in the league. So it's like an arms race of Bruce Cassidy, if you really want to put it that way.
It is weird. Yeah, I wonder what he thinks about this whole situation.
Can someone look up if they play each other soon? That would be interesting to know. But
that would be one hell of a cup final that I would hate to see.
Yeah, seriously. Wow.
In the meantime, while Mac's looking that up, the Bruins have scored the second most goals in the league this season with 38. They only trail the Los Angeles Kings, who have scored 40. The Bruins are averaging 4.2 goals scored per game. That is nuts. That's first in the NHL. And they're not only doing it on offense, they're doing it on defense. They have the third best goals against average in the league at 2.33. Only Vegas and Dallas are better.
All right, so Vegas and Boston will play each other in Boston on December 5th. That is a Monday night. And then just 6 days later, they play in Vegas on Sunday, December 11th. So they play each other, December 5th and December 11th, first in Boston and then in Vegas.
Circle your calendars for that one. That should be a good
tilt. About a month, yep.
Yes, sir. And then a sleeper team. I want to talk about these guys and give them some love. The New Jersey Devils. They're first in the Metro Division right now with 12 points. They're 6-3 on the season. I do want to mention, other than the Avalanche, they have only played one other 2022 playoff team. That was the Caps. Everybody else they've played is not a playoff team from last season. Vanacek and Blackwood not really getting it done completely. They still combined only have under a 900 save percentage. Should be interesting to see how their next 3 games go against the Flames, Oilers, and Canucks all on the road. But Jesper Bratt has revived this team. He's been the best player on the team easily so far.
I would also like to add that I think that slightly less than average goals against situation for VV and Blackwood is a little bit more the fault of the defense, in my opinion, because I've seen both of these goalies actually play pretty well this year in a couple of games. So I think the defense is a little shaky in Jersey.
Without a doubt, but I mean their forwards are playing out of their mind right now. I think, they're obviously having some off days, as you'll hear from Frank in a little bit, but I think Jesper Bratt absolutely looked fantastic for this team. I mean, that guy is so hard to defend. He's so quick. He's so fast. His edge work is so good. And the plays he makes are just unbelievable.
And this is without Jack Hughes in the lineup lately. I mean, He's been hurt. So they're still leading the Metro Division as of November 1st. We'll see how that stands. A lot of people are saying they could definitely be a playoff team. Some article I read on The Athletic said they might even be a cup contender. I'm not buying that so far.
No.
It seems a little premature.
If you're a Metro fan or a fan of a Metro team and you're looking at these standings, this is a problem for you. If you like the Rangers, if you like the Islanders, you like the Penguins, you like the Caps, you like the Flyers, whatever, this is a team that everyone was thinking wasn't going to make the playoffs. And right now they're looking like they could have a shot.
Well, it's like, do the math, because at the beginning of the season, we were talking about how there's already like too many good teams in the Metro to make it. And Jersey wasn't one of the ones we were talking about. Yep. So all of a sudden there's even more teams that you're like, well, shit, like at least like 3 decent hockey teams are not going to make the playoffs. So tricky stuff.
Should be interesting to see how the Metro plays out before the new year for sure. Well, I guess that's a perfect segue into our guest, Frank the Tank. I think before our interview that Nick has a word from our sponsor, Kane.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great interview with Frank, and we did have some difficulties during this interview, like we mentioned, with the internet. So it's always good after you have some difficulties to take some time for some rest and recovery from Kane Footwear, the Kane Revive. I wore mine out to Halloween over the weekend. They got every liquid in the world dumped all over them. But I stayed comfortable because of the bounce back foam and the sugarcane technology, which, kept me comfortable the entire time while I was walking all over the cobblestones in Fells Point. And then when I got home the next day, I just sprayed them off with the hose. Good as new. I love these shoes. Head to the link in our bio today to get a pair for yourself for the best shoes you will ever own.
We're going to toss it off to Frank the Tank right now.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, it's now my pleasure to welcome on Mr. Frank the Tank Fleming to the Empty Betters podcast. Frank, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us today.
How's it going? I'm at an internet company without the internet.
There you go. Right. Spot on. Well, we brought you on today to talk a little bit about your beloved New Jersey Devils. You're a huge New Jersey sports guy. But before we get into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you come from, and how you ended up where you are now?
Well, of course, they had a New Jersey Transit rant that got me to Barstool, and I've been full-time at Barstool now. This is going to be my third year full-time at Barstool. It was 2 years ago, almost to the day, that I finally left the courthouse after 16 years, and I'm doing content every day, soda reviews, hot dog reviews, watching the Devils lose every. It's to the point now the goals and they actually score on the power play.
Yeah. So going back to that Jersey Transit rant for a second, what exactly brought that on? Was that just 16 years of pain, suffering, and torture, or was that just, spur of the moment, you know what, I got to get this off my chest kind of thing?
It's just New Jersey Transit is the absolute worst.
Ridiculous.
I mean, there's not, if you use New Jersey Transit, you go through and I'm talking to two major stations, Newark Penn, New York Penn. There's not a day you go by and not see at least one broken escalator.
Jeez.
Then you can take the elevators, which people use as bathrooms. Because they say the bathrooms are so dangerous and so you have people just whip it out and piss some shit in the elevators. So the elevators. The urine is soaked so much into the metal, and it's a metal floor, that it just is. It's a vomitorium.
I like that. I think I'm gonna have to add that to my wheelhouse for sure.
Vocabulary.
That's how bad North Penn Station is. Last week, someone was posting a video, and they said that look at the transit police abusing this poor woman. Yeah, there's a woman in a wheelchair. And they were like pulling her away, and she's like fighting them. They're probably arresting her or putting her in a hospital because she literally sits there with a blanket and no underwear. So you can see the whole world when she's just sitting there.
Yeah, I imagine that's not something you want to see while you're either on your way to or on your way home from work.
I mean, Newark Penn Station is a hellscape. It's a hellscape. It's a homeless shelter that has trains going through it. I mean, and they announced that they're going to make enhancements. And then last 2 months ago, they announced that they've completed a renovation of Newark Penn Station. The only thing they do is paint the fucking railing.
Jesus.
Oh man. Let's go ahead and get into your Devils. Where does the love for this team stem from? Was this like, you were born into it, or was this?
Well, I sort of got getting into hockey when they made their improbable run to the Stanley Cup, the conference finals, Wales conference finals in 1988. And they were a very good team for 25 years. I mean, between 1988 and 2012, they only missed the playoffs like 3 times. Won 3 cups, went to the finals 5 times. And just the last decade has been really bad. Really bad. And what's worse is they got some talent, but there's just no improvement being made. And Lindy Ruff has got a job for life, apparently. And, I personally, I hate everyone named Ruff. If your name is Ruff, I hate you.
It's like he just came straight from the Sabres, and they were like, oh, okay, this is about as good as this is going to get. Let's just stick him behind the bench. And
he was with the Stars for a couple of years.
That's right. I forgot about that.
That's right, yeah.
And he was an assistant coach on the Rags.
Interesting.
I mean, never hire anyone off the Rags staff.
Yeah, that's a good rule to live by.
Yeah, for sure. So what about Mac and I remember these Devils teams pretty vividly. I was born in 94, Mac was born in 98. So growing up, all my cousins in Jersey who played hockey, they were all huge Devils fans. When you had the teams with Stevens and Niedermeyer and Langenbrunner, Eliash, Brodeur, what was it like to watch those guys play hockey? Because it was just, I was a kid, but I remember it quite vividly. I had a Devils poster in my room for a while. They were unbelievable.
You just knew that there was going to be at least one or two saves a night that Martin Brodeur would make that wouldn't no other goalie can make. You knew when they got a lead, the chances were they were going to win. The Devils would get that one goal like that, get that one goofy goal in the first period. And the next thing you know, it's 10 minutes left. It's still 1-0. The other team starts getting frustrated, makes a mistake, and all of a sudden, boom, it's 2-0, and the game's pretty much over.
Yeah, they were lethal back then. I was just telling Nick before you hopped on. I'm a big Caps fan myself, but back in the day before the Caps were any good, my dad used to take me to New Jersey to watch playoff games because he wanted to show me what playoff hockey looked like. And I remember vividly one game I was at in 2007. Devils were playing the Senators. They ended up losing the series, but the one game I went to, they won. I went to double overtime, and it was Jamie Langenbrunner that had that breakaway goal to win the game, and it was just electric being in that building, watching the fans go crazy for it.
What I remember is they had that one game. It was either 2001 or 2002. I can't. Years come together now sometimes, but where the Toronto Maple Leafs had 6 shots on goal the entire game. They had 3 shots on goal in the first period, 2 shots on goal in the second period, and 1 shot on goal in the third period. 6 shots on goal.
It just makes it even better because it's the Leafs too.
They're still, say what you will about the Devils now, but they still do allow the least amount of shots in the league. Last night they played the Caps. Caps only had 20 shots.
They got the worst goalie in the league.
Yeah, the goaltending definitely isn't what it used to be. That's for sure.
And then you got a power play that is just. It's almost like they want to have the perfect power play goal where they pass the puck around so many times, and then they do one setup and they end up taking a shot from like the blue line, and it gets nowhere near the goal. But it's almost like they want to set up the most perfect power play goal that the ice opens up and a heavenly light shines on the ice. That's what the Devils look like they're actually waiting for when they go on a power play. And Jesper Bratt made a pass yesterday.
Yeah.
That was just the dumbest pass I've ever seen.
Yep. Right to Connor Sherry.
That's a Washington Capitals pass right there.
Yep.
Jesper Bratt played yesterday like he was drunk. and then you got the Capitals on the power play. And you got all 4 Devils bunched around the net. Meanwhile, standing in the circle is Alex Ovechkin. Is almost like, you do realize who that is out there, right? You do realize who that is. And I'm screaming because Ovechkin's literally standing in front of me, and I'm going, look who's there. He's getting the puck, and just as I finish it, it's like, beep.
Yeah.
They just set it up on a tee. Nobody around him. Perfect shot. Perfect shooting lane. And I guess that's what was his 783rd career goal.
Yep.
Let me name off the players that have more goals than Alex Ovechkin. Wayne Gretzky, Gordie Howe. End of list.
Yep.
You let him stand there for 30 seconds without going near him on a power play.
Yeah, it's amazing how many teams still just don't seem to get the memo on that one.
He's just sitting there, right in the circle, right in that face-off circle, to the right of the goalie, and it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Somebody go on him. All the Devils are like bunched around. I don't know what their strategy is. I don't know what the strategy is. They play like sometimes they play like they're a knock hockey team where they just blindly pass it, and hope it bounces somewhere and they could get a breakaway or something like that. That's how the Devils seem to operate. That's called Lindy Ruff hockey.
There you go. What are some of the young pieces you like on this team? Because I feel like, you were talking about Jesper Bratt being drunk yesterday, which it did look like he was, but him and Sharon Govich are just so fun to watch for me whenever I turn a Devils game on because they're so exciting players.
Jack Hughes is off to a little bit of a slow start so far this year. Kind of disappointing.
Yep.
It's only got 1 goal so far. He sure is up and down. The problem is they don't have many pieces on defense.
Yeah.
And can we bring up Nico Dawes already?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way Nico Dawes is worse than Mackenzie Blackwood, and yet Nico Dawes is in Utica.
Yeah. At this point, like, why not give him a look?
Yeah. Blackwood's had a couple of good starts so far this year, but it's only been a couple of games.
Whenever he's ready, I mean, that should hopefully help the defense. And the Canucks are going absolutely nowhere. Maybe they could try to get Finagle Quinn Hughes away, get all 3 Hughes on the team.
Yeah, that team is
That'd be something.
Real dumpster fire right now. What did you think of Miles Wood's comments to start the season off about how he's tired of playing on a bad team? Did you like that, or did that rub you the wrong way?
Yes. And of course, he got benched a game for doing that because Lindy Ruff thinks that losing is fun. I mean, Alexander Holz, he's not even dressing the last couple of days. I mean, what are we doing with him? I mean,
yeah, why not give him a shot?
I mean, I'd rather lose with Alexander Holz than watching Thomas Tatar. By the way, I got to say this about Thomas Tatar. Thomas Tatar is terrible.
How about Andre Palat? I feel like he's been a good addition so far.
Yeah, he's been one of their best players so far.
And we just want to say a huge thanks to Frank the Tank one more time. And we had an absolute blast chatting with him, and just want to say thank you to him again for persevering through the internet difficulties. He toughed it out for us, and we really appreciate him taking the time out of his busy schedule to do so.
Yeah, and hopefully he'll be back so you guys can get a little bit of a longer chat with him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go around the league for some injury updates. We'll start with the Washington Capitals because they get their own section for this one. TJ Oshie out indefinitely. Do we know what the injury is?
Lower body, which is possibly even worse because his nagging injury over the last couple of years has been upper body. So it seems like this man is just made of glass now.
It's just everything. Just
full body.
Full body. TJ Oshie
out fans out there, every morning I break my legs. Every night I break my arms.
At night I wait until my heart attacks put me to sleep.
Literally.
And then Connor Brown, elite NHL sniper Connor Brown, per Mac of the preseason, out 6 to 8 months with an ACL tear, per our friend Samantha Pell. Thoughts, comments?
Goddamn. Yeah, that article I wrote for Washington Hockey Now about how this guy was going to be a huge piece for us all year, not looking the best, but, who could have foreseen something like this? And yeah, if you want to do the math, 6 to 8 months, he might make it back in time to play for the Caps in the Stanley Cup final this year.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, maybe. That's
a good one.
Maybe.
No, I mean, you nailed it. This is a huge loss for this team. We were both so high on this guy coming into the season. Everyone.
And he looked good to start, too.
Absolutely.
He was playing well.
Every one of my friends was like, what was the biggest move the Caps made in the offseason? And of course, they're all gravitating towards Kemper. I'm like, no.
Yep.
28.
No.
Yeah. Yep. Well, it happens.
R.I.P. Alexander Semin.
Yeah, good thing it ends there, right?
Yeah. John Carlson day-to-day with the flu or cold or something?
No, he's injured. He's
hurt?
Yeah. He and both left. I think it was the Nashville game that they both left in the first period. Neither one returned. The Oshie thing is just disheartening because all they said was out indefinitely, lower body. So that just cannot be good. Like, with our luck, it's another ACL somehow because this team just keeps getting fucking ACL injuries. But I'm not going to speculate on that one. Carlson, it sounds less serious. They were saying he might play tonight. Now they've said he's not going to because, quote, Laviolette, they're working through some things in the room as usual. So I don't know what he's injured with, but he's injured. So there's that. And,
is the training staff having these guys do like high knees up and down like the Verizon Center or Cap One or whatever it's called now, steps or
on
something?
The plane, Russell Wilson style?
Yeah, seriously. Caps fans, let's ride.
I don't know. Maybe we should because Russell Wilson is undefeated since the high knees on the plane. So
there you go.
I never want to watch the Denver Broncos play another football game ever again.
Same.
Luckily might not have to.
And that's coming from a Colts fan. I'd like to put that out there.
Yeah.
Yes. Jamie Drysdale of the Anaheim Ducks out 4 to 6 months with a torn labrum in his left shoulder. That's a huge blow for the Ducks. I know they haven't gotten off to a great start, but that's their young budding star on the blue line. That certainly hurts. Sean Couturier is expected to be out 3 to 4 months for the Philadelphia Flyers after having back revision surgery on Thursday. I don't even know what revisions. I guess they didn't do it right the first time and they had to revive. I don't know. I'm not even going to speculate. I'm not a medical guy. Sucks for the Flyers, though. And then forward, James Van Riemsdyk, also of the Flyers, expected to miss 6 weeks after having surgery to repair a broken left index finger that he suffered on Friday. So the Flyers are dinged up a little bit. They still keep plugging away.
It's funny, too, because I had actually just picked up JVR off waivers like 2 weeks ago because he was off to like a pretty decent start. And I was like, oh, cool. This will be a nice little like fringe guy to have on my fantasy team. And then he played one game for me and then I had to drop him again.
Yeah. Yeah. For some gambling tips, not too many in the queue this week. I mean, we've been retweeting
because we suck.
Well, we suck. Yeah, I took a break. I was off for like a week, so I don't really have much to say. But yeah, we kind of blow.
And honestly, though, like that is a pick to like sit for a week.
Yeah,
that's a move. Yeah,
it's November 1st. It's a new month. Time to turn the page here. And,
time to do exactly what I did in October and not learn any lessons whatsoever.
I know a lot of our friends on Twitter have also kind of taken a break just with some bad beats. I know Elio didn't exactly have a great week. Melissa Cunningham didn't have a great week. It all happens to us. So rooting for those two as well. I do want to say this thing that Sharp Rank just tweeted, Nick, they just tweeted something of you and me at like some analysis report and they put us against each other. And it's kind of funny. I actually enjoyed it. You're ahead of me in the standings now. So that tells you what I've been doing lately.
No way.
Yeah, wow. You actually are. So you're the top rated EB Sharp. Congrats.
Nice.
I don't know if that's a good thing, boys.
We're hoping we can turn that around tonight, eh? But we're going to move on to Studs versus Duds, formerly named Who's Hot, Who's Not, brought to you by Nick Manella.
I think this got confusing because people were thinking that we were, saying like who looks attractive and who doesn't. And we can definitely continue to do that. But like we're focusing on hockey right now.
Yes. Studs versus Duds. Mac, why don't you lead us off?
Yeah, so we touched on the Devils earlier, but I would like to highlight former Capitals legend Vitek Vanacek. He just got his first shutout for the Devils the other night, and he's started 4 games. He's got 3 wins. I think 9 goals against, so it's not the most perfect situation, but we talked earlier about how that he doesn't exactly have the best decor playing in front of him either. But yeah, I thought he played really well his last 2 starts, particularly that last one with the shutout. Obviously, tough to root for a Metro opponent, but deep down you root for the guy a little bit. So good to see that. And then do you want me to do not as well, my dud, or do you want to go through all
dud?
Okay. So my dud, I also kind of hinted at this earlier, but Mr. Sam Reinhart. I have beef with this man right now because drafted him in fantasy hockey. I was like, you know what? I hate the Panthers, but this guy, good player. He has literally 2 assists this year, and that is all the points he has to show for himself. He looks terrible, to be quite frank. He's not doing jack shit. Has not scored a goal in 9 games. And that's pretty much all I have to say. I mean, there's really not much more to add other than he sucks, and I'm listening to any and all trade offers. So,
Yep. Maybe Andrew
I'll
Kopp will
I'll
be on the
take him
block.
off of your hands for every starting goaltender you have.
Oh,
my goalies are good. My goalies are really good. So
seems
I just
fair.
want one. I just
I
want
literally-
one. I'll give
I
you
literally
Husso in return.
I've got Thompson, Freddie Anderson, and Varlamov. So
Oh, you're stacked.
What if
Yeah.
I took Reinhardt, sent you Husso, you give me Freddie, and you can pick another stud from my list?
oh God. All right, we're gonna have to revise that one, but we'll talk later.
Matt Boldy.
Oh, he's hot.
We'll talk. We'll talk.
Nick, you're stud versus stud.
My stud's going to be Gabe Velarde. This one isn't stats based at all. It's just the past 4 games I've watched him play. He's been so impressive. The wall work as the setup guy, using his size. I mean, the Kings are a pesky ass hockey team. I mean, they're not necessarily the best thing out there. Mac, you touched on this, I think, in the overtime report. You know, Cal Peterson has kind of been meh. They're still kind of expecting Jonathan Quick to be what he was 10 years ago. Let's be real. But I've just been so impressed with this guy. I mean, you know, going back to his Spitfire days, I was kind of wondering where he was going to end up in the NHL sort of like scheme of things. Was this guy going to be a bust? Was it going to be more like a Joe Veleno in the Red Wings? But I mean, he has been so impressive so far.
And then what about your dud?
My dud is going to be the Washington Capitals power play, with the exception of Dylan Strome and Alex Ovechkin. So Ovi had a power play goal the other night on Halloween from The Office, so that's awesome. Dylan Strome has been fantastic, in my opinion, on the half wall. But as a whole, the Caps breakout transition through the neutral zone on the power play, I think, has been atrocious. That's something that obviously, you know, you can attribute to Wilson not being there, Backstrom not being there, but it's got to get a lot better. And certainly that Connor Brown injury does not help that whatsoever.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking up here. I just want to see. Looking where the Caps power play ranks right now, and I can't find this season's, but I'd be curious to see where that is. All right, moving on to stud versus stud for me. Stud, I talked about it when we were talking about the Devils. Jesper Bratt, he's got 15 points in 9 games played. He's top 5 in the league in scoring right now. He has a point in every single game that the Devils have played so far. Fun fact. So he's on a 9-game point streak.
He's so good. I mean,
yeah, he has.
I don't
points.
Understand why people don't talk about this guy more often.
Jersey market, probably. I mean,
True.
They talk about Hughes, and that's about it, unfortunately. But he's got 6 points in his last 3 games. He's looking really, really good for the Devils. And then who's not? This guy's on my fantasy team, and man, I was high up on him, and it has completely rebounded on me. Andrew Kopp of the Detroit Red Wings, one of the more sexy free agent signings that occurred, and 3 assists in 9 games. That's it. And with some guys sidelined like Verana and Bertuzzi, you would think that he would pick up the slack. Nope, not happening. He's got 1 point in his last 5 games. I'm listening to all trade offers.
I think we were all big on this guy. And Mac, if I'm remembering correctly, when we were at dinner with your dad, he was pretty big on this one as well. So
yeah, we all talked about how that was a really smart signing, and it's not looking like it yet. But
yeah, the Perron one's working out.
Sounds like us 3 need to just swap these guys and see who ends up actually like picking up the slack, and see like literally swap Kopp, freaking Reinhardt, and I don't know, somebody on your team, Nick.
Pick one.
Okay.
Literally pick one.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is going to drive me nuts. I'm trying to see. Oh, the Capitals have the 18th place power play in the league so far this season. So
yeah, they picked it up a little bit there. Like Dylan Strome looked good when they first switched him there instead of Kuzi, but they got to do something.
Also, like one more thing while we're on the Caps, can we talk about the shootout against Carolina?
Go for it.
Should we just go into the State of the Union here?
Yeah. Transition it.
I don't know why Ovi is still going in the shootout. I'm sorry. Yeah. I don't love it. It's not, it used to work, but it's kind of like what I said about like Cooper Rush with the Cowboys, like where he's like a classic Nintendo quarterback where it's like A button, B button,
Yeah.
Ovi's move in the shootout is either shoot the puck or go to his backhand.
Yep, exactly. I mean, when you have Oshie out, it's kind of like I get it because you're already like missing guys that you would rather shoot in his place. So, whatever.
Why is Anthony Mantha not going though?
I mean, that's fair. Yeah. I don't know.
How
One
about
thing, go ahead.
I was gonna say, how about Kuzi's controller breaking?
I love when he does
see
that.
that?
I love when
great.
he does that and it works. I hate when he does that and he misses, but
he just
yeah, goes in a diagonal line and stick handles 1,000 times. It's hysterical.
God. But no, I mean, shootout's bullshit. What do you want? What are you gonna do?
What have your guys been on Kemper so far?
He's good. I'm glad he got a shutout finally.
The Nashville game, I think, was the best game he's played all season. Some of those saves were pretty incredible.
Definitely. I've been bigger on Chucky. Like I know he's only played like 2-3 games, but I'm excited to see him tonight against a good hockey team because last time we played what I thought was a good hockey team, Toronto Maple Leafs. He played out of his mind. We still lost, but it was a good game, and he at least gave us a chance to win. So I'm hoping for more of the same against a good team tonight. Here's one thing I want to say about the Caps, and then we can move on to the Penguins State of the Union. All these injuries, it's not looking good. We have a really tough schedule coming up. We talked about that last episode. The Caps need to find a way to stay afloat until the cavalry comes back. Like they don't need to win every game. They don't need to win 2 of every 3. They need to win like half of the games until Wilson comes back. And
stay 500.
Say what you will about, Backstrom's gone, Oshie's gone, Carlson's out right now. There's a lot of key pieces missing. It's Wilson. It's Wilson for me. The Capitals are not the Capitals without Tom Wilson. He is the most important player on that team, maybe even more important than Alex Ovechkin. He's the hardest player to replace in the NHL. There's no one that can replace what he does for the Caps. He hits people. He creates space for the guys that are supposed to score goals. And you can't really pretend that you still have him when you don't. Like it's painfully obvious when you don't have Wilson and when you do, the difference. So the Caps need to find a way to just not get buried in the standings until he comes back, and then we'll be all right. That's kind of where I stand on the Caps' current situation. If we can, like Nick said, find a way to just stay 500 or close to it until he comes back, which I'm hoping would be like best case scenario, late November, maybe December. I'm hoping to get him before the Christmas break. Yeah, exactly. So
my next question was going to be, when is he expected back? But yeah,
December was the target, but it was very up in the air.
Him and Backstrom were both on the ice for the first time like a week ago, maybe a little less than a week ago, but it wasn't like with the team. It was like just another like part of their like recovery, like, oh, we're going to put them both on the ice today and just like kind of see what happens. But they were out there like by themselves, to my understanding.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a good sign, at least, that they're like getting closer. But I definitely think they both still have a little ways to go.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think one of the things that we're going to see a lot of is, the Caps did make that move for Sonny Milano a little bit earlier on, and he's been in Hershey since then. I think we're going to see him a lot sooner than we would have expected now.
I definitely think you'll see him. Hopefully McMichael gets in. I think McMichael might be playing tonight. If I read that correctly, he might be. Hopefully we see a little bit of Joe Snively.
Twitter. They'll let you know.
Yeah. No, I'm hoping we see Joe Snively. Hopefully we see Protus continue. He's looked a little better in recent games. I'm hoping he can kind of pick it up here. There's no shortage of solid Caps players that should be able to handle a couple games in the spotlight. Question is whether they actually will be able to do it or not. But here we go. We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, the Penguins are in no better shape at the moment. They just dropped 4 in a row on their Western Canadian swing, losing to the Oilers, Flames, Canucks, and Seattle Kraken. They looked incredible to start the season at home. They go on the road and they just completely tank. There's a couple guys that I want to call out. Brian Dumoulin is just abysmal. He's horrible. He has not been the same.
He does look bad.
He also does suffer from open mouth syndrome. So I just do want to put that out there.
Yeah. I mean, for some people it works like Gino, but for Dumo, it's like you gotta close the trap a little bit. I get it. But he has been just awful ever since that. I think it was his ankle injury against St. Louis years ago, and he's never been the same since. And it really is sad because he's in the prime of his career, but he just can't seem to find his rhythm. He needs to be benched a couple games. They need to get some youth into that lineup, or at least some grit, something other than him. They got plenty of depth defensemen. Chris Letang probably had the worst 4-game stretch of his career on the Western Canada trip. That was like, you guys talk about Caps Twitter getting on John Carlson, like just outraged at what he does on the power play and all that. That's Chris Letang. It's the same beast. Just didn't look good at all. I mean, granted, they didn't have Gensel for 3 of the 4 games. And then, of course, when he gets back, he scores. This team, I would honestly say, is driven by Jake Gensel. Like, similar to what you guys say with Tommy Wilson, maybe being more important than Ovi, you could maybe argue Jake Gensel's more important than Sid. I mean, he's our guy.
I would absolutely say that.
Yeah, he's our best goal scorer. He's maybe our best player. I'm not sure. But
and on an old team, similar to Wilson for the Caps, Gensel, the Penguins, on an old team, he provides a little more youth. It's not like he's 22 or anything, but like,
right,
it's a younger guy that still has a little more legs under him, a little more get up and go sometimes. So it makes a difference.
Yeah, for sure. So he missed the games in Canada. Then when they went to Seattle, he played. Obviously, he scored. He looked good. Jeff Carter got dinged up. He looks like ass, so I'm not really that concerned about it either.
I picked him up for about like 2 minutes on my fantasy team, and I was like, yeah, nope.
Yeah,
it was tempting because I think he had a hot start. So like his point average was a little bit inflated.
I fell for that. Yeah. I fell for it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you made me notice one thing so far, the Penguins are really, really good at home and they're really, really bad on the road. That there's no other way to put it. They do play the Bruins tonight at home. I have no idea what to think. I can't imagine Sullivan letting them drop 5 in a row, but they're playing the Bruins.
Also, I just checked, and we're spot on here. Gensel and Wilson are both 28 years old, so very comparable, very similar. They both provide a very similar thing to that lineup.
Yeah, so, the Pens need to shake it up a little bit. I'm not going to hit panic just yet. I mean, I really don't expect this team to do much of anything from October to like December 10th because it's just like, oh, we're waking up, we're getting out of hibernation and, slowly but surely getting back to our groove.
That's the Penguins' specialty. It really is. They love playing that. Like what I was saying I want the Caps to do is what the Penguins are great at doing, just like staying afloat until they're like, oh, shit, it's like 2 months before the playoffs. We got to win a bunch of games. Okay, we'll win a bunch of games.
But like Penguins don't actually hibernate. What they're doing right now is they're sitting on their egg, and then the egg is going to hatch at some point. Right around playoff time is usually when that egg hatches, and they get really annoying again.
Is this more Happy Feet or March of the Penguins vibes?
I would say this is definitely more Happy Feet right now, but come March, we're going to definitely be March of the Penguins.
Happy Feet is a banger.
Happy Feet is a banger. I will give you that. Yeah, right now we're like what's
huge Happy Feet vibes.
What's the name of the animal park that like is cruel to animals? People hate them.
SeaWorld.
SeaWorld. This is SeaWorld Penguin shit right now. This is bad.
Also, like now that we're talking about it, it's ironic that the Penguins lost 5-1 to, the Canucks, whose mascot is an orca who eats penguins,
Kraken might fuck up a penguin. I don't know.
Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah.
If they like came out and the iceberg was right there and they were smacking them around with the tentacles or something.
Flames lit the penguins on fire.
And that was Planet Earth with empty betters.
Yeah, Animal Planet section right now. Right. But
and tonight the Vegas Golden Knights are going to storm the Capitol. I should stop. No, I should stop.
Anyone else hear helicopters over their house?
No more analogies. No more. We're done. We're done. The FBI is now listening to empty
Wait, while we're talking about Vegas, I heard that they like called their fans like the medieval maniacs or something, and I wanted to fly out there and just start punching them.
All right, I hate them again. I hate them again.
No, the worst is the Caniacs. I hate that. That's awful.
Oh, all of Cap's Twitter was up in arms about how like Canes fans kept like booing things that were just like and chanting "ref you suck" for things that are just not.
I saw your Twitter. You had some kind response to that. That was nice.
So Canes fans don't know anything about hockey.
They don't, and I have a great follow-up point for that. So I watch like the replay of the game from the Hurricanes broadcast.
Oof.
And they have to like explain like on the broadcast. So like during the shootout, it's like this goal wins or like a save wins the game for the Hurricanes. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, do you not get it by now? You guys won a Stanley Cup.
Yeah. Mickey Mouse. That was a Mickey Mouse year, though.
It was. Well, it was Cam Ward won a Stanley Cup, but
yeah, it's a Mickey Mouse ring.
Doesn't count. Gotta have more than one player win it.
Yeah, post lockout.
Alrighty. I think that just about wraps it up. This one ran a little long. Apologies, but hopefully you're still sticking around here. And if you are, we definitely appreciate you, especially for the Animal Planet section. That's awesome. You guys got any final notes before we wrap up here?
Buy merch, go Astros, go Caps, go Coyotes, go Underdogs.
Mac, didn't you have some beer league shenanigans?
Kind of, sort of. I mean, I got over my concussion. Thankfully, it was rather minor. So prayers up for that one, I guess. Then I played on Sunday in a very minor role. So if you're listening, you're like, you shouldn't have played some Tua Tagovailoa shit. Don't worry. I'm fine.
You were fine.
I was fine. I played Sunday. I only went because I looked at our like availability sheet and we had like a bunch of people going. So I was like, all right, I know that I can go and play and kind of take a backseat role here. Which is very hard for me to do, by the way, because I'm a passionate player. I like to be involved in the chippy shit. I like to be involved in, I'm a crease monkey. I like to be in front of the net causing trouble. So it was hard for me to kind of just like swallow my pride. Still ended up getting a penalty at one point because the ref that was playing is the same one who suspended me earlier in the year over like nothing. And he called a hook on me, even though we were getting hooked all game long. And I just returned the favor once. And he was like, 2 minutes. And I was like, all right, well, I'm just not even going to say anything to this guy because it's not worth it. But yeah, you guys would have been very proud of me. I didn't there were many times where I wanted to, but I didn't say shit to the other team. I just let it go. And yeah, we lost. But
very proud of you still.
Happens. Yeah, I know that took a lot out of you. So props
it's tough,
to you,
man. But it's just more than anything, I'm just getting my weekly workout in. I only do this once a week, so
yeah, no, I feel that. All righty. Well, we appreciate all the love and support, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Definitely go follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all of it at Empty Betters. Give us a follow on our personal socials as well. You can buy our merch on our website at www.emptybetters.com. Definitely go check out the site if you haven't already. And we will check you guys. I was going to say check you guys out, but that's not going to be the case. We're going to see you guys in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening. And without further ado,
class dismissed.